Slide 17, the next piece of, and the last piece of the puzzle is logicism. This is also kind of the next wave after this positivist attitude. People started saying, oh, let's tighten the screws everywhere, as if. Let's tighten the screws of our philosophy, let's tighten the screws of our sociology, our psychology, our historiography. And then in mathematics, there was a very similar movement. Let's tighten the screws of mathematics. And logic, formal logic, was born. The two people you see on the slide are the major two. You have Gottlob Frege on the left, and you have, of course, Bertrand Russell on the right. Again, we go back to Kant here, just to show the influence of this character. Kant maintained that mathematical propositions such as 2 + 2 = 4 is a synthetic a priori. Frege, and then Carnap, of course, the next generation and others, they embraced that an extended version of analysis, which was what I was talking about a little bit earlier. The statement 2 + 2 = 4 is not synthetic. It cannot be synthetic. Why? Because not only analytic means you can entail it with logic, or it is the definition and we cannot really tell them apart if it's an only if and only if. No, it's even deeper. 2 + 2 = 4 does not have meaning. 2 + 2, the meaning of that, to understand 2 + 2 = is 4. If you know what plus means, and if you know what 2 means, 4 is there, whether you write it down on the piece of paper or not. And so this is absolutely, married to the original idea from Kant, which is true by definition. Now there is no distinction. Well, I'm not. Anyway, let's stay there. They don't make a distinction anymore, is what I'm trying to say. There are a lot of details, but I'm going to brush over it. So this 2 + 2 = 4 is understood. 2 + 2 is understood as equal 4 now. If you know what plus means, you must say 4. It doesn't mean anything any other way. And that's why we don't need a synthetic a priori anymore. We're going to call it, to simplify, truth 1, which is about the system, something you can entail logically in your system, and truth 2, which is a truth about the world as modeled in your system. And this is a lot closer to the view that we have today. So we have the two puzzles, the two pieces of the puzzle now. We have the positive piece, which is we can know about the world, and the way we know is using logic and empirical data together. And we're going to couple them in a scientific theory so that they work and they depend and they correct each other. And then logicism says, you know what? We're going to tighten the screws of mathematics as much as possible so that we can serve this this process of discovering very faithful truths. We can reduce all of those natural language claims that are very vague. Remember, science used to be about writing words. So this is something we cannot relate to until you start reading old manuscripts, which is something I was very unfortunate to do. But it's a great experience when you read a 15th century or a 16th century manual. It's so different than what we're doing. It's full of jargon, it's full of long paragraphs, and people did not take care to review and revise and tighten the meaning of their language a lot. Not that most of them do today, but it's way better for us today. So this translation from natural language to logic, or at least the hope of establishing that faithful translation, was the main dream of Alfred North Whitehead and Bertrand Russell famously, who wrote the Principia Mathematica together, trying to base all of mathematics on first-order logic, and then after that set theory. Of course, later on we will talk about Kurt Gödel and the eventual failure of this project. But for now, this is the news now. This is what we want our science to reflect. I want to jump to slide 25, just to give you the quote, verbatim from Carnap. Rudolf Carnap, of course, 1940s, is it? 1950s, he was working during that period, probably earlier a little bit, I forgot the date, but he is the second or the third generation here relative to these developments. He writes, we believed as a group, that, of course, he means the logical positivist camp, which we haven't mentioned yet. But just to give you the quote that relates to this, we believe that the rationalists, the rational camp, he's talking about a 300, at the point where he wrote this, it was like a 300 plus or minus years old movement. This was still relevant to that up till that point. We believe that the rationalists had been right in rejecting the old empiricist view that the truth of 2 plus 2 equal 4 is contingent on the observation of facts. Again, I'm reading on slide 25. So he says, we believed that the rationalist had been right in rejecting the old empiricist view, which is what? The 2 plus 2 is 4 is contingent on the physical fact. 2 objects plus 2 objects makes 4 objects. That's how we discovered. He says this is a view that would lead to the unacceptable consequence. If you've attended the philosophy of math room, you say, I and a few others accept it now. But for Carnap, this is unacceptable, that an arithmetic statement might possibly be refuted tomorrow by some experiences. He specifically here, very clearly, believes that 2 plus 2 equal 4 is an eternal truth. This is analytic. It was deduced by logic, and logic is this very accurate machine that we have, so we accept it face value. That's it, the end of that story. Our solution, as logical positivists, consists in asserting the thesis of empiricism only for a factual truth. By contrast, the truths of logic and mathematics are not in need of confirmation or observation, confirmation by observation, because they do not state anything about the world of facts. Statements of mathematics, unlike the traditional belief that was all across history, that it relates to the world, it's implied from the, yet it has no relation whatsoever to the facts. They hold only for any possible combination of facts. Sorry, not only. They hold for any possible combination of facts. Any universe, for Carnap, and others, of course. Any universe, any state of affairs in the empirical world, you will still get the same math. Why? Because math is independent of the entities of the physical world. This is the combination of logicism and positivism.